Hi everyone, it's Linda from LyndaCreates, and this week I have a Valentine project, and you'll see that this is a Swedish heart. Usually it's made out of paper, and usually it's a specific shape, very squarish on the bottom, but I have my own pattern I designed that you can download for free on my website. That's LyndaCreates.com, Linda with a Y. It is a pattern that allows the heart to be a little wider. You can see the angle. This is a little wider angle. So I made it so that you could do it out of fabric. And then I did a lot of slow stitching and some beading and this unusual blanket stitch pattern. So, plus thrifted fabric, and it's a pocket. So you could add things in it. So let me show you how I made this. I need to have quite a bit of contrast between the two colors that I'm going to use. I was thinking these two would be a nice contrast. The fabric should be about the same weight. I also have a piece of flannel, and you could use felt. It's going to be on the inside to add some substance to the heart itself once we have it woven, but I have some flannel. So this template is available on my website for free download, and you'll notice that normally a Swedish heart has a flat bottom and it's very square. Well, I was wondering why it has to be like that. So I wanted to do something a little different. So I did an angle to make a different shape of heart. So my pattern is pretty self-explanatory. There's a right-hand side, a left-hand side. You place this bottom line on the fold. So for example, this right-hand one, you would place this part on the fold and then you would cut it out and cut these lines, but don't go past the dotted line. So go to my website and download this template. So you need that pattern. Cutting it out is a little interesting, and I'm going to show you. I kind of have this one set up. This is for the right hand side. Find a selvage edge, which would be the straight weave of the fabric. So you want this line, the vertical lines, to line up at least on the front side of your piece. And so you would line it up like that. The angle of the fold comes across, and then you just want to cut it out. And you want to make sure there's a fabric on that side, right side of the fabric facing towards you. So when it's cut out, what you see will be the front of it. So that will be the right hand side. And now I'm going to do the dark pink. Here's the selvage. When you do the left hand side, line this up with the selvage, but now you see the fold has to go at this angle. So I'm trying to keep this line aligned with the selvage, and then the fold, I want it to go right along there, and then I'm just going to cut it the same way. So now we have the left and the right. I wanted to show you another thing that you can do with this pattern. If you do it this way, you will get the same, you'll get also a Swedish heart, but at a much sharper angle. So if you want something like that, just reverse it. If you don't, if you want the wider one, there you go. Okay. Now we're going to start weaving. So, starting at where the corner will be right there, and I'm basically weaving it into each other. Okay, next one, you do just the opposite. So there we have the woven heart. And now generally, yes, there is a pocket there, but we are so not done yet. Now is when we bring in the little piece of flannel, and I'm just tracing around it. And what you can do, fold it in half and cut it that way. And it doesn't have to be perfect, but it does have to be smaller than the line that you traced. And what I could do, kind of align the top, and then just with my finger, just kind of smush it down in there to get that point. But it just gives it a little more substance. So once I trim it down a little bit, I'm ready to do some slow stitching. So I'm starting with 3 strands of a pink DMC 3716. And basically what I want to do is just some slow stitching. I'm just going to do a simple running stitch. And I have to use my needle puller again. And I'm doing it in a contrasting color. So I wanted to end up in this corner because it's right next to this next square. So I can start right there and start doing this square. And I can do it back and forth this way, come down back and forth this way, and back and forth this way, and end it there and then start again. So that is my thinking. And the other goal I have right now is to try to do the stitches a little straighter. I have these, the first 4 squares done, and you can see I got more into a rhythm as I went. A little wonky at the beginning, but came into a rhythm. So now I'm going to continue with these. Okay, now that I've finished all those stitches, I'm going to go into these squares, and I'm going to, working with 6 strands of orange. Okay, I'm going to try something, but I'm coming in kind of doing a crisscross star. I like that. I'm going to repeat that in all of the light pink squares. So I have all of the squares done. Now, I was trying to decide what I want to do here. I know I'm going to do a stitch around the edge to seal it up, but I'm thinking using my water-soluble pen. I decided what I'm going to do is, starting from the center here, I'm going to do the fly stitch down this way, and then I'll come back to the center and then do the fly stitch down to the right. And I brought my needle up the top there, and basically I make a little Y like that. And then I'm just going to do a little stitch to catch that. And then I'll come out again a little to the left, a little to the right, and down in the center again. And catch it. So that's on that side, and now let me come down on the middle there. So now I'm going to do like the mirror image of the left hand side. I'm now going to do coming down on the right hand side. So there's part of that side done. I'm going to add a little bit more to it as we go. I decided to do like 3 lazy daisy stitches in a pattern to look like flower, no, little, like a little bow coming out here, I guess. 1 in the middle and 2 on the sides, 1 on each side. But you could see where I'm doing like a little lacy edge around there. And I'll just keep working my way around. I finished the row of lazy daisy stitches around here, and I decided it needed some French knots. And I'm using 3 strands and 3 wraps. Well, I couldn't resist. I had to use some beads on here somewhere. I did French knots down here, but I'm now on this side, and so I pulled out my my thrifted beads, and I am going to put them on either side of this fly stitch. I'm hoping it's not going to be too much aqua here suddenly. I finished the outer row, and I love the way that looks. I'm kind of debating on if I should do the inner row. I like the way it looks. It's pretty. So I brought up my knot inside or behind the layers of fabric on this side, and now I'm continuing through. I'm going to be doing a blanket stitch, and the beauty of a blanket stitch on the edge of, because I have raw edges here, it actually holds everything together, puts a beautiful edge on that. So it's actually being decorative and holding all those threads down. So I'm using 3 strands of this aqua blue color. And I'm just going to go around. So I did the blanket stitch all the way around the edges, and I liked how that turned out. And I was just thinking, since the only place I had beads were right here, that I wanted to add more beads. So I pulled out some of these pink beads, and I'm going to stitch them just at these intersections where the squares meet, just because I feel like it needs a few more beads. So I'm taking my slow stitched heart, and I'm going to add it to this piece of upholstery fabric from the sample book. But I liked how it had these curves and swirls, so I thought it would work really well with this. And again, it's going to be a pocket. But what I need to do is prepare the fabric first for it. Just trying to check to see if it's sort of square. And again, I'm just going to baste it down just to get rid of the needles and hold everything in place. So the beauty of doing this is that you can do big, wide, loose stitches. And I'm just going to go all the way around till I have everything folded down. So I did a stitch around the edge to hold it into the shape that I want. Got rid of the pins. Now I'm going to do it's called a mirrored blanket stitch. But before I do that, I just want to share something. I have a lot of vintage supplies. And so I was digging through my extra embroidery floss, and I found these 2 variegated ones that I haven't used, obviously, but they're old. And the reason I know they're old is, to start off, this one is by J&P Coats. It's 9 yards, but it's also priced at 8 cents. That's less than a penny a yard. That's vintage. And then, if that wasn't amazing enough, I had this other one. It's American Thread Company Star 6 strand, and it's a lighter variegated pink, but it says it's 3 for 10 cents. So they're 8 yards here, and you could get 3 skeins for 10 cents. Amazing. So I'm going to use a standard DMC 3805. I'm going to just tie off a knot here. Okay. So I'm going to hide the knot inside here. I'm just going to do this mirrored blanket stitch. So I'm starting with a blanket stitch, and now instead of coming down first, I'm going to come down from the top and come out parallel to where the first stitch is. Okay. And I'm going to catch that little. So now I have 2 stitches there. Can you see that? Let me do that again. So now I'm going to leave a bit of a gap. Actually, what I'm going to do, because I need to actually catch the backing, I'm going to come into that So I did like a blanket stitch, and now I go a little bit of a distance, and I'm going to come down, and I don't want to catch that at all. Okay, so now I'm coming down, and I want to make the top look like a very pretty blanket stitch. And then I'm going to come back up and just finish it that way. So the only reason, normally you could just catch the top just like that and do a nice pattern, but because I'm actually using it to hold, I'm actually going down through everything. So just like a regular blanket stitch, I'm going to move over just a slight distance and just come straight down from the top and come out parallel to the first stitch. So it basically creates a blanket stitch on the top. And you come back in and you catch it. So you have like a double blanket stitch there. So it's like a blanket stitch mirrored going both directions. And again, I'm going through the fabric every other one so that it holds it together. So this is just a variation on a blanket stitch. It is just a little different, adds a little variety. It's just pretty. Something that I decided to do was that to make it actually look really nice and neat, I'm just going to take my water-soluble marker, do a line across, but it'll just give it a neater look when I'm done. And the reason I do a dotted line when I use this pen is that although it is indeed water-soluble, it doesn't, sometimes it takes a couple attempts to remove it. It just seems to me the less marker you have on there, the better. And I can eyeball where the line is supposed to be. So now I'm going to continue on. And the other thing too is because this is such a dark color, it's going to show up if I'm get really off, and I'm kind of getting off right now. So that is why I'm doing the blue line. I finished doing the mirrored blanket stitch around the outer edges. The other thing I'm doing at the moment is I'm pulling out the white basting stitch that I had put down to hold. I think what I'll do is stitch the heart down next. I don't know if you can hear the rain in the background, but it's pouring rain right now, which in Southern California, it's such a unusual and blessed sound. Sounds so nice. Anyway, so I'm warm and cozy in my studio. And so now I'm going to stitch down the pocket. And I'm going to use the same dark pink that I used on the edge. I have the blanket stitch around the edge. And I could do a French knot in the middle of each blanket stitch opening. So there is woven Swedish heart, slow stitched pocket onto this fabric, and I'm thinking, I was looking at my beads, I'll do a bead inside each of these. I'm just using regular thread in the neutral color. It's turning out really cute. I think that lighter pink actually is really pretty. So here's my finished slow stitch Swedish heart pocket project. And this is, so it has a pocket. I stitched it down on these sides, and then you could see I added these beads. This fabric was a thrifted upholstery fabric, and it had this pattern on it. So I just added beads to each of the sections on it. And I think it came out so cute. And then I did a new stitch. It's a mirrored blanket stitch, and I'll have instructions on my website. I just had so much fun with this. It started off as my very first Swedish heart. And I have the pattern on my website because you can see it's not your standard shaped Swedish heart. It's wider, it's opened up wider. So I have my own pattern for it. So you could download it for free on my website. But that's how it started, was being able to do it in fabric. And then it became something more. Thank you so much for watching. Please check out my website at LyndaCreates.com. That's Lynda with a Y, Lynda, for an illustration of the stitches. So you could see how to do that and to download the pattern. And I'll put a link on the description below. So thank you so much for watching. Please hit that like and subscribe button to be notified when I upload new videos every Sunday. And I hope you enjoyed that, and I will see you in my next video.